This is something I've been working on for a lifetime. At this point in my life, I'm 69 years old. I've had years and years, oh my God, more years than you can even imagine, of experience in business. All the way from starting as a call center agent way back in the 70s to being a CEO and president as I am today. So being the guy that I am, I started writing a book because I figured, okay, well, maybe someday someone will see this somewhere, pick it up, it'll plant a seed for them, and they'll get some of the lessons that I've worked hard to learn. So with that, the book is called Lessons I've Learned in No Particular Order. I did grab onto a couple mentors, and all unbeknownst to them, those are the people that I learned with. So let me share with you some of the lessons I've learned in no particular order. Hey everybody, Steve Biederman. Lessons I've learned, no particular order. It is October 14th, 2022, and this is the 13th lesson that I've learned. So I was talking to our producer today, Anda, and she said, you've already done 13 of these, and that's like a whole season, and we're getting ready to go to the second season. And I was thinking, I wonder if that's all the lessons I've learned, or have I learned a few more? I hope to God I've learned a few more than 13. Well, let's talk about today, because I think today for me has been a game changer in my career. And this is what I call gap marketing. Now, the gap is not something new to business, and certainly people are talking about it all the time. I look at it in a bit of a different way. And I came upon the idea of finding gaps in marketing years ago because I had no money. And I was breaking into, at that time, a very mature industry. And I was trying to figure out a way to get my voice out into the market. And, it was incredibly hard to do the same things that other people were doing. For an example, a trade show was just cost prohibitive to me. Or if I could afford a trade show, it was one trade show and I looked tiny to my neighbors and my competitors. And that seemed like an awful expensive way to do nothing. At the same time, I was committed to staying in business. And in that concept, I had to figure a way so people knew who I was. So I started to think about this idea, and this is years ago. Where are gaps? Where are these openings in the market where I get to talk? You ever around someone who talks constantly, incessantly, and it's just incredibly hard to say anything. And what are you doing? You're waiting for a gap or a pause, per se, where you can say something. And so similarly with marketing, it was the same idea. But I was saddled by this one idea, as I said, that I didn't have any money, literally no money. So what did I do? Well, I started to think about things like writing. I started to think about this is why you have spam, right? Is because people can afford to do something. But I also, it was not just thinking about something I could afford to do. It was thinking about something that no one else had done before. Let me bring you up to date with our company, NobleBiz, as an example. NobleBiz is in an incredibly mature industry. I mean, literally, there are over 200 direct competitors on the contact center technology side. So from a tech perspective, I would tell you that almost everyone has the same thing. Some certainly nuanced and subtleties and differences, but in theory, there's nothing quite really different about one than the other. So as we began to say to ourselves, where is our voice in the industry, and where's the gap, and where's that pause that people will recognize us and our differences? Because in many ways, it's the differences that define you. So we realized that the thing that really drove us was something people were talking about, but they weren't really talking about it any differently. And that was, we're promise keepers. We care not only about selling something to a client, but and not only doing quality support, but we also care about how we embrace that customer. So we looked at that and we said, are there any differences in that to what other people, maybe not the difference in what they're doing, but how they're doing it and how they're saying it? And we looked at it and we said, yeah, people that get this type of technology that is the fundamental core part of their business, they care a lot about the relationship they have with the company that is the provider, and that was us. And so mostly what they care about is that if we said something, we're going to do it. And that said to us that we're promise keepers. So as promise keepers, we looked through the industry and we said, who else is talking about this type of relationship with a client in the gap in this way? Here is our voice, and our voice has a unique way of not only expressing it, but embracing it. And so we began to recognize that although we love our technology, and our clients do too, that they wouldn't necessarily hear us as clearly when we were talking about our technology. So we began the process of talking about our embracing of our client. And that is a tactic per se of gap marketing. Now remember that when you say something like that, you better do it. It's like you put yourself out there, you better keep a promise per se, right? So anytime you find a gap and it essentially forces you to aggrandize yourself, it forces you to stand taller, you have to be able to support it with your behavior. So it's not so easy to say, let me just try this tactic and this. I never saw anybody do this before. Let me go back in time and I'll talk to you about a company I worked with, honestly, it was almost 40 years ago. And we were spraying lawns and doing fertilization, and which today is, a regular thing, but at that time, it wasn't quite the same. And there were a few competitors, mainly landscapers, but we were a national concern. So we needed more business, so we didn't know how to be different. And so we found a gap that was cost less, and that was a gap of knocking on doors after we did our fertilization on that lawn. And just that little thing would be, we found a gap in the marketing. So if you can find gaps in what you do in your industry, and you can design a way to say it that's unique, maybe audacious, maybe even self-centered in the way you want to promote it. If everybody, for an example, is very low-key, you don't want to be low-key, right? You want to be a louder voice. And if you can find ways to do that and stand behind what you say, and you can begin to distribute it in a cost-less way, then you have found a gap. Now, a clear lesson to understand is don't do anything at all that you can't repeat, sustain, and afford. So those are critical factors. And then, of course, make sure you can do what you say you're doing. So find the gap any company can do it. You can be the smallest company in the world and you can compete with anybody in your industry. If you can find a way to position what you do in a way that shows a difference, that is a difference maker. So what is it? It's something original. It's a new way of maybe saying the same thing that already exists, but it's an upgrade, and in that upgrade, it opens people's eyes and they pause to listen. So you can take a product that already exists and you can say it in a unique way, in a pattern that you can continue to repeat saying it in a wide range of ways at an affordable, sustainable cost and repeatable cost for yourself. So with that, listen, it's a fairly quick lesson today. It's an important one. I just want to talk to you about our next session because it's really been a hard lesson for me to learn, which is how do I work with different generations? Now, remember this, as at my point in my career, I've gone through many generations, all the way from working with baby boomers up to the Gen Z that is entering into the workforce now. And hopefully I'll be here for Gen A or Alpha, which will be the next one. But how is there a difference in how I work with one generation to another? Because frankly, I'm running my business. I'm not thinking about generations. I'm thinking about my business. I'm thinking about how to find the gap. But now I have to do it with people within my company that hear me differently, and then people that are acquiring my product that are hearing me differently. So hopefully the progression that we've had of talking about how to approach the market, how to find the gaps, and then how to communicate with the different generations will give you more of a complete package of what can be good for you. So listen, great to talk to you today. I hope to see you next time. And then hopefully next year we'll go into season 2 of Lessons I've Learned in no particular order. So take care. Best to you all.